Hi, guys, and welcome to another podcast episode. And today I have somebody who I've been literally following, as in chasing, you can say, or hounding, because I saw his content online. He writes something really amazing, which is to the point, always talks about a lot of exciting things that I'm not going to talk about it. I'll let him talk about it. But to bring him on board today here was really special for me. Will, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good. So let's kickstart, guys. There's a lot I would love to talk about Will, but best is to come from him. So Will, let's kick it off by just giving everybody an introduction about what you do, where you are, and really excited to know the journey of where it is all today.
Yeah, sure. So, Will Laurenson. I'm the founder of Customers Who Click. We're a CRO agency for e-commerce brands. Um, been going about just under 4 years now as an agency, which has been quite an exciting journey. Starting just before COVID was an interesting time. Um, I'll try and keep the story short. It's basically, I worked for a few startups, and each startup was the same situation. Here's a load of money, go acquire customers, go grow the company. And the expectation was that we would run ads, drive traffic to the website, and the company would grow and make money. Um, Obviously, it doesn't work like that. And I found myself getting frustrated by that, and saying to the seniors, you know, I'm not spending this money. We're burning money at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got problems to fix. So I would start doing customer research. Literally doing customer service and picking up the phone to people, running surveys and things, and then taking that feedback back to the product team to say, this is what we need to fix. Right, this is what people are asking for. If we
Yeah.
make these changes, that's going to work better for us. We are really good at driving traffic to the website. That's not an issue.
Yeah.
Our issue is basically conversion, and then with some of them, because some of them were like subscription products. It was retention, right? Because the product itself didn't do the job. And that's just so I kind of just accidentally fell into CRO. Really, I was basically doing it without knowing that it was CRO.
Hmm.
I think we'll go into some mistakes and things later, but I guess I fell into that kind of trap, that one of those big mistakes where I thought CRO was A/B testing, and so I guess that's why I didn't think I was doing CRO at the time, but I was, and it's the stuff that I really enjoyed. So I decided, I don't particularly enjoy sitting in front of an ads platform all day. So yeah, won't do that. I'll do the customer research. I'll run some tests, and I'll just work on improving experiences.
Wow. So you're saying that I want to launch an e-commerce or an online business, and I spend pot of money to bring people by running ads, and that's not how it works, because everybody talks about it. That's the only way to do it, right? Anybody starting a business, they would go to a marketing agency, and the only thing they would focus on saying, we should run TikTok, we should run Instagram, we should do Twitter, this and that. Nobody talks about engagement, no retention, nothing. Why is it this way as well? This is amazes me, but that's the fact.
I guess probably two reasons. Firstly, if you follow, I don't want to use the term best practice because it's abused a bit, but yeah, I don't have another term. So if you follow best practice for a website and you get your basic store set up, you should be able to sell something, right? As long
Hmm.
as you've got a bit basic information on there, you've got some product images, you get a bit of social proof, should be able to sell. In which case, drive traffic to that website, start selling.
Hmm.
Um, and the second thing would be, um, that's the sexier thing, isn't it? Right? People want to be able to say, I guess even from a budget point of view, I guess people want to go to agencies and say, we are spending 50 grand a month, we're
Yeah.
spending 100 grand a month.
Hmm.
We've managed to double our ad spend
Yeah.
over the last 6 months. We're getting this ROAS. That I guess people like talking about that sort of stuff. Whereas I can really care less about the I mean, that's a bit extreme, but yeah, don't really care about the sending traffic. I want to know, once that traffic lands on your website, how do we get some value out of as much of it as possible? And it doesn't have to be a sale because not everyone is ready to buy. But out of that, what, 96, 97% of people who aren't actually ready to buy,
Yeah, yeah,
what else can we get from them? What can we get them to do so they, to improve the chance of a conversion later down the line?
yeah. Interesting. I never thought it in this way, but what you say makes out and out sense, Will, that if I can go to others and over a pint, I can nicely boast about we increased our ad spend by 3 times. Now we're spending 150K a month, rather than somebody sitting next to you and say, you know what, hey, I increased my conversion rate from like 0.01%. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
0.01% is huge value, but number wise, it's peanuts.
You can quite easily, I'd say reasonably easily, double your ad spend, right? Even when you're
Yeah.
spending 50 grand a month, let's say,
Yeah.
you can probably reasonably, easily double that ad spend. And that sounds good, right?
Yeah.
We've doubled our ad spend.
Yeah.
Doubling your conversion rate is super, super tough, right?
Yeah.
But you don't need to, because if you can, a 10% increase here or there, it's going to
Absolutely.
make a massive difference.
Yeah. And in some cases, doubling is not even possible, right? So if you're at 1%, then 1 to 2 is a massive mammoth task. But if you're at 3%, 3 to 6 is like insane. It doesn't even happen because of
Yeah.
all the complications ever, right? So,
Also, there would be an argument to say once you're at a certain conversion rate, you're probably not driving enough traffic to your website. If you're an e-commerce website converting about 10%,
mhm.
either you are just you're doing an incredible job with the entire customer journey, which maybe the odd brand does, or you've really nailed one channel and it's just time to expand, right?
Yeah.
It's time to find more traffic to drive to it.
Absolutely, because 10% is mostly unheard of. Is like the Disneyland scenario where people don't even look at, can never reach that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that brings to me one of the most important questions, very controversial, very subjective, and quite a lot of heated debates have gone through at different pubs with me as well. And you touched upon it very briefly, is like A/B testing, right? But for you, Will, what is CRO?
Do you know what? I really need to spend some time um, working out what an actual description is, because I haven't. I've thought about it a few times, but never actually spent the time trying to define it. But I see it as more of it's like a business growth discipline, right? It's not a marketing channel. It doesn't sit alongside Facebook ads, PPC, email. Really, it's another level. Whether you consider that level above or below, I don't really care. I'd consider it above, right? Because a lot of what we do, I kind of thing is, when you say it sits above, people get that feeling of like it's you saying that you're more important than them, and that you're kind of you should be telling them what to do. Because people see it as that hierarchy in a business, right?
Yeah,
But it is kind of a level that sits above it, right? And the research that we do is then distributed to those other channels so that they can improve and be better, right? So it's not a hierarchy thing, but it's what we do is we'll run tests on a website. We can improve your conversion rate, improve your AOV, but we can also pass these learnings into PPC, Facebook ads, TikTok, customer service, product,
yeah.
email, all the actual marketing channels, and help them optimize further as well, right?
I,
So
yeah,
when I think when people talk about kind of growth marketing,
yeah.
I would say that's kind of where CRO fits in, right? It's not one channel. It should be looked at as a channel. It should be something that you're doing all the time, and it can influence pretty much the entire business.
I love the way you put it. Is it's a discipline, right?
Yeah,
It's multi, because the approach, it has to pan everything, and it's testing and it's taking the learnings from it and distributing it across, because so many factors, so many channels affect your sales, and you gotta got to look at each one of them and try and optimize as much as possible,
Yeah.
which is a mammoth task, as I know. And but also to help guys like me, Will, that's why we come and talk and learn from guys like you. So I know your agency, and you work with a lot of brands, and I know, also knowing you a little bit, that you're very much into research, right? You would want to get into depth of finding out why this funnel's not working, what's broken, how can we fix it, and things like that. So what I want to know is, uh, e-commerce and D2C businesses, as sexy as it sounds, also comes with all the mistakes that most of us do in our businesses, right? So if I had to ask you, Will, what are the top 5 mistakes e-commerce brands make in today's world around CRO, how would you kind of sum that up, please?
Okay. Um, these aren't in a particular order,
No, no, no.
so
Yeah, yeah.
these are not in priority or anything or biggest. Where do we start? I guess firstly, that CRO, the biggest kind of mistake or misconception is that CRO is just A/B testing,
Hmm.
and that's the role of CRO. You hire a CRO agency or whoever, and they're just going to run some tests. They're going to sit on the side in their own silo, essentially,
Yeah.
running A/B tests. That's not what CRO is. As we just discussed, it's that growth discipline. It should be having an influence over pretty much every aspect of the business, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's the first mistake, right? Just having a CRO person or whatever who just does that. Um, Having said that, secondly, that last comment I made, CRO can't be done by one person, right? It's a massive job. You require a strategist, an analyst, a researcher, a designer, developer. If you're an agency or whatever, you need account managers and stuff. But within a business, you've got 5 roles. You can probably condense it down to 3.
Hmm.
You might be able to get someone who can do the strategy, analyst, and research piece
Hmm.
together. But then that's a full-time job, right? So another big mistake I see is brands who, we'll get in touch with them and they'll respond saying, "Oh, our digital manager is handling is handling CRO as well." And you're like, well,
Really?
how?
Okay. How?
Like, it's in fact, I had an interesting chat with someone on LinkedIn the other day,
Hmm.
and we were saying that you don't necessarily need someone on CRO full time, right? So as an agency, we work with multiple clients, so
Sure.
we're not working full time on a client.
Fair.
But what you do need is someone who is full time CRO.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
the only thing they do and obsess about is CRO, right?
Yeah.
But they can work 2 days a week for you. But as
Yeah.
long as they're super focused on CRO and that's what they know, that's what you need.
Yeah, and plus
So
also with agency, you get like people who are focused on, specialists in different fields working together as a team to kind of solve the problem, rather than, you getting going different individuals doing that for
yeah,
you.
well, we have strategist, analyst,
Exactly.
researcher, designer, developer, right? So we've got 5 people, potentially 5 people, maybe more on one account, each doing a bit, not full time, but still full time, just focused on CRO. And that's the important thing because again, it comes back to this learning thing,
Hmm.
and the learnings you get out of it. It's we can run a test. In fact, I'll make this third mistake. Right, the third mistake brands make is they run a test and then that's it. And even some agencies make this mistake as well. They'll run an A/B test. If it's a winner, great, implement it, move on. If it's a
Yeah.
loser, scrap that, move on. What's next? And that's it. And then never ask why. And I was actually introduced to this term that I'd never heard before, called, I think it's first principle,
Okay.
which is essentially you run that test, right, and you get a result, positive or negative. The
Fair.
next step is why, right? Why did we get the reaction we got?
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's the reaction we wanted and we're hoping for, that's great. Our hypothesis was correct.
Yeah.
What's the next step? Right? What do we do with this next? Because if we got a positive reaction, well, can we get a stronger positive reaction or another positive reaction by iterating on this?
Yeah.
If we got a negative reaction, then it's, well, why? Why didn't this work as we expected? Because we did the research,
Yeah.
we spoke to customers, we looked at their heat maps, Google Analytics, and all that, but we didn't get the result we wanted. Why? And so you start looking into data a bit more. You might look at the heat maps for the test or session recordings. You can look at click data and stuff, and you might find that no one interacted with the change that you've made. But it's really important to be looking at what's the next step with this test, and why did we get that reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the mistake is that people move on from these tests and things way too quickly. And I think, again, it comes back to this CRO mindset piece as well, and that it's not about, right, it's testing, it's experimentation, and it's learning. That's kind of the important thing from CRO, not necessarily the test result itself. So, one example I've got is I had a client who they felt they had a B2B market, right? So they had an e-commerce store. They felt they had a B2B opportunity there because they could see certain customers were coming in and spending $20,000, $30,000 in one go.
Sure.
And obviously they look at the email address of that account, and you see that it's for these guys, it was like interior designers. Right. So you're looking at that going, okay, these are buying it for a client.
Fair. Yeah.
So my client was talking about, well, we're looking at hiring a sales team now.
Mm.
And I was like, well, hang on a minute. Let's run a quick test.
Yeah.
Let's have a little message on each product page saying, I can't remember exactly what it said now, but it was essentially, are you buying as a business?
Sure. Yeah.
Click here.
Yeah, like a bulk purchase or whatever, right?
To contact us or whatever. And it would pop up the little lead gen form.
Yeah. And
say, drop in your details and we'll have one of our team reach out to you to help you with the quote or whatever. And it worked. It got a reaction. And, so we move forwards, right? And they've hired a sales team and they've moved forward with the B2B side. But if this had not worked, and no one had clicked it, and no one had bothered, then there's the risk that they would have hired this team at big expense, great expense, and then, and they had nothing to do. So we're not necessarily looking for the best possible solution straight away that we can implement. We're looking at what's the quickest, easiest solution we can implement now that we think will get a reaction. Then we will look at iterating on it later. So I've done other things with, where the test has the kind of full experience we'd wanted required quite a bit of development work.
Fair.
And it's like, well, we don't want to put 20 hours into this because we're not sure right now. So how can we make this a really basic test that we can just run quickly, and then we'll look at the bigger piece of work once we've established.
But this 20 hours, not just doesn't save you time, money, etc., but just so much heartache in so many different forms, right? If done in the right way, then you can double down on that, right? Increase your ad spend. Yeah, but if it doesn't work in the way, then it just saves so much. And in a company, time is worth gold, right? I don't think many realize that at the end.
Yeah, well, and previously, with certain clients, obviously the design and development was on an hourly basis. So if we put 20 hours of work into a test and it doesn't work, it's really, really difficult to justify an iteration on it. And saying, well, there's 20 hours that hasn't done anything for you. We want to spend another 15 hours redeveloping this because we think we've got a different way of doing it. Right? It's a really tough sell.
It is.
Whereas if I can say we spent 4 hours on this, and it's worked well. Right now, let's put another 10 on, and let's improve on this, and then it might be 20 later. So what was that, 3?
Yeah, that's
Um,
great. But I'm loving the insight, so don't worry about it. Just yeah, yeah. But these are good, and I love the examples because they help me put things together as well. So
yeah.
great.
What else have we got? Big mistakes people make. Well, no research, right? So I would say biggest. In fact, so yeah, mistake number four, and it's kind of an objection that I get on sales calls quite a bit, which is CRO doesn't work for us. People will say we did a bit ourselves, it didn't really work. We
Yeah.
ran some tests and didn't get anything from it, and I guarantee none of those tests came from research, like actual research.
Mm-hmm.
None of it has been worked on by anyone with actual CRO experience. Um, they've whipped something up really quickly. Um, I'll save something for the fifth mistake in a
Yeah.
sec. But yeah, I mean, essentially, it's just maybe looking at competitor websites, picking up something and saying, "Oh, that looks good. Let's test
Yeah.
that,"
That's that. Yeah.
or just someone has an idea and says, "Here's something we should test,"
Yeah.
and they do it, and it's not come from any research, right? So you've got no idea whether this is going to make any impact at all. Um, I can't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, essentially, it's not come from any research. Oh, and it's not gone through that prioritization model, right? So you haven't done any scoring on it, so you don't know, you haven't been able to say yes because of X Y Z. This should have an impact. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought with that.
Yeah. No,
But
but
yeah,
I think a large part of that will also would go into I don't know if they are able to define the problem statement correctly, right? You run a test,
there
and then
isn't one.
yeah, right. Because I run a test, and I was like standard CRO problem would be I ran an A/B test or whatever to try and see, if my clicks go high, conversions go high, etc. And they didn't. My test failed. No, it didn't fail. That mindset is I think such a big blocker for the whole thing that we're trying to do here.
Well, I think that's where it comes into this. Then you have the lack of iteration, right? Because there was no research done for the test, which meant there was no problem statement, no real hypothesis for it.
Yeah,
And so if they get a negative result from it, there is no next step
yeah,
because they didn't because they've run the only test possible
yeah.
for that experiment in a way because there was no scope for iteration with it.
Sure.
Whereas when you have that hypothesis, you're
Yeah,
able to then look back at it and say, why didn't we get this?
yeah.
Right.
Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, step four would be just picking up random ideas, or to be honest, picking up like ebooks and things of best
Mm.
top experiments to run. Other agencies put out loads of here's a load of experiments we've been successful with in the past,
Yeah,
and too many brands just pick those up and just run a few tests. They'll
yeah,
just try and run the exact same test, and it doesn't work like that.
yeah.
So mistake five would be the data side. So again, linked to running a test, it'll be ending tests too early. Right, it's a massive mistake people make,
Okay, okay,
and
interesting.
I know there are some agencies out there who do this as well, which is really really bad. If you are a CRO agency, you should know better. Um, you need to work out what the sample size is you need, right? Which will
Mm-hmm.
be normally tens of thousands of visits or
Right.
users per variant.
Mm-hmm.
Your test is going to have to run at least 7 days,
Mm.
probably more like closer to a month for a lot of brands.
Sure.
Unless you're doing millions of visits to your website a month, a test is going to take, I'd say, 3 weeks. That's normally a good number. Um, and people rely on statistical significance, which isn't quite right. It's not actually the right metric to use. You need to be looking at power. Um, but yeah, so brand people will switch off a test too early, either because they're seeing a strong positive or a strong negative result. That's what causes people to end the test early. If a test is up 2%,
Yeah.
then they'll probably leave it running. If a test is up 10%, or if it's down 10% after 48 hours, people will kill the test because they'll say,
Bang
"Cool,
down.
it's working. This
Yeah.
looks great." I ran a test for a client, and I think it was after about 2 weeks, and after roughly 100 conversions, 100 conversions on the winning side or the
Hmm.
positive side, the conversion rate was up. I think it was like 140%,
Hmm.
120%, something like that. It was massive, right? And
Hmm.
even 2 weeks in, I was thinking, okay, this is a big result we could be getting here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew we had to leave it longer because we didn't have the data yet. But even after 2 weeks and those sort of numbers, I was thinking we're gonna hit a big win with this one.
Sure.
I think we left it for another 2 weeks, and we ended with an 8% uplift,
What?
right? Which
Really?
is still good. That's still fantastic for the
Yeah,
client,
but
right?
not even
8%.
remotely close to. Yeah.
But it kind of, yeah,
So
like
what?
once you run enough data through it,
Yeah.
you're gonna see that it's like flipping a coin, right? If you flip a coin 3 times, potentially you could get 3 tails,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so you say, well, this coin is unfair or whatever, or it's just clearly it's always going to go tails. So people would start betting on tails,
Yeah.
right? It's going to flip tails every time. Well, it doesn't work like that, does it? If you
No,
flip the coin 10,000 times,
the
you'll probably
probability is
still
there.
end up not 50-50, but it's going to
Yeah.
be 49-51,
Yeah.
probably closer than that, right? So that's the thing people need to take into account. When you get 10 conversions on a test, 2 more conversions, is a 20% increase, right? So when you look at these percentage increases and things at the small end, and the thing is, people know this, people understand this,
Hmm.
but they don't think it through when they look at the data, right? They just see, this test is 40% up or whatever. We've been running it for 3 days. Cool, we're good. Um, Vast majority of the time, I've seen so many tests which have flipped the result when you leave it for another couple of weeks, when you really get enough data through it.
Wow.
Positive and negative. I've
Yeah.
had tests flip both ways. So you have to leave tests long enough to really be confident in the result.
So the sample
Um,
size is kind of a key
and
to come up with an
yeah,
insight of the test. Yeah.
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 And a good way of doing this is, if you're a brand working with an agency,
Hmm.
don't look at the tests. Just don't look. Leave it to the agency. I do check in on them just because I just want to make sure they are working. And if I do see quite a significant um, uh, result kind of happening, then I will just explore it just to make sure the test is running properly.
Right.
We'll double check things. But
Yeah.
you don't touch it. You leave it alone. You
Yeah.
don't you don't start analyzing it at all. Just leave it
Cool.
to run.
Fair.
You know, you should have a certain. We have a date in Airtable, so we get pinged when
Yeah.
we think when a test should be ready to end,
Okay.
and that's when we'll
Cool.
go back in and we'll see if we can declare a result.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
it's just I know it's very tempting to jump in there like every day and just see how the test is performing. But it's the exact same reason why we'll get a client on a Monday phoning us up and saying, like, "Will, our conversion rate was down over the weekend." I'm like, "Well,
Okay. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really
Whatever.
care about, you're
Yeah.
telling me your conversion rate was down over a 24-hour period, right? Was it a really nice weekend? Yes. So was everyone out having fun and not shopping? Yes. There we go. Right. Or if it's raining, right? They sell ice cream or something, and it's a
Yeah.
really bad day and it's winter.
Yeah.
Probably is going to be
Wow.
down.
Wow. Yeah. The
So
the web of these things are so complex because there are so many macro, micro factors that kind of influence the day to day, how
yeah,
your sales are, what's going on, etc. And I think that's where, in my opinion, and me talking to a lot of these e-commerce brands and a lot of the Shopify stuff that we work, I think one of the biggest mistakes they do is they stop thinking themselves as the consumer, and they want their website and the expectations get set like everybody coming to my store is going to be ready to buy,
yeah,
right? And that's why most of this drags on, because the solutions and tools that are available in the market make you believe so. They all think that, let's go sell, sell, sell. But I think today's decision maker for a D2C brand wants to know about the brand, wants to get connected, wants to understand their ethos, wants to know if what they are saying is something that I can connect at a personal level with them. Then only I'm going to give you my share of the wallet. Otherwise, sorry, there are so many options, so many discounts, so many things going on. Why do I even bother? Is
Well, like
this
this,
mindset, yeah, very prevalent in a lot of conversations that you have?
yeah, kind of. I don't get anyone saying like, oh, we should be converting at 10% or something.
Sure.
There's not that expectation. But just on the topic of like, I guess wanting to get closer to brands and stuff. Right, this T-shirt I'm wearing,
Yeah.
it's from True Classic, or
Hmm.
True Classics, I think it is. It took me like 6, maybe 9 months to buy because I wasn't ready at the first time. I got drawn in by an advert,
Yeah.
and I had a quick look, but I wasn't ready to buy, so I waited. But I saw more adverts. I started to look at their website because I thought it was really cool from a CRO point of view. So it's a
Right.
definite good example for people to go look at.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, eventually, when I was ready, I was like, I'm gonna buy these t-shirts. And it was the first brand that came to mind when I was ready to buy,
There
and
you go.
that's what a lot of brands need to be doing, right? You want to be that first brand that comes to mind when
Yeah.
someone is ready to buy. But one thing that I think is important is, and it's a bit of a not a controversial one, but it's a difficult one to explain very quickly. I don't really care about the actual conversion rate of a website, right? When you open up Shopify or Google Analytics and you look at your website conversion rate, I fine, whatever. It's 2%, 3%, 1%. Cool. It can always be better, right? And that's the approach I think we should take. We can just make it better, right? Brands say, well, we're good at 4%. Why are you good? Oh, because the benchmark for our industry is 3.5%. Brilliant. So you're still behind a lot of brands because
Yeah.
that's an average, right?
Yeah.
It's never called an average though. It's a benchmark. Why is that? It's probably because benchmark. It sounds good if you're above the benchmark or at the benchmark. It sounds
Yeah.
bad if you're
Below it.
if you're average. If you're average.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so just going into that a little bit more, just to give it a bit more context. If you drive a load of social media traffic, that's low intent, lower conversion rate. If you're driving TikTok traffic, if you're driving loads of traffic to a blog, lower intent. It doesn't convert very well. If you have a product which takes months of consideration and people do a lot of research, your conversion rate is going to be lower, right? So I think the overall conversion rate of a website doesn't matter too much. It's and the fact that it's a volatile metric, right? So it's constantly going up and down every single day,
Yeah.
all the time. So you can't, if you're doing CRO, you can't just expect your conversion rate to be like
Yeah.
a graph that's just going up to the right. It
Fair.
doesn't work like that. After Black Friday, there's nothing I can do to stop your conversion rate plummeting, right? Because
That's just what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
it's not really dropping.
Yeah.
It's just it was massively inflated for Black Friday, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, so we look at test results all the time. That's all we really care about, right? And so when I remember a client, a client messaged me on Slack saying, conversion rate for the last week I think was down.
Hmm.
It was the worst week for a couple of months, and they were concerned about it. So I said, okay, we'll look into it. We looked at our tests, and actually, I think pretty much all our tests at that point were up, right? So we were doing quite well, only a little bit, but there was nothing wrong with our tests. So that was obviously the first place we look.
Hmm.
So we did some digging into it, and we found that there was a collections page that we were unaware of, because it was essentially being used as a landing page, and probably like 90% of the products on there were out of stock, and they were driving loads of paid traffic to it.
Wow.
So there are things that are going to affect the conversion rate
Yeah.
that I can't do anything about.
Sure.
Um, you know, if you haven't got stock, you haven't got stock. you've either got to fix that issue or
Yeah.
don't drive paid traffic
Yeah. Right.
to a landing page without stock products.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my point really was, I look at the test conversion rates, and that's what we report back to the client on. And we'll say, look, test 1 this month, this uplift. Test 2 this. We'll
Yeah.
look at AOV as well. The actual conversion rate for the store is not going to shift that much based on a bit of A/B testing. What it will shift on is a bit of A/B testing, plus all the insights that we're going to pass to the paid side and the rest of the business to say these are opportunities to improve.
Sure.
If we run a test on, let's say, social proof, and let's say a particular benefit for a product, right? These, I can't remember exactly what they talk about with these t-shirts, but they're designed to be like fitted almost. Right?
Okay.
They just fit really well.
Okay.
It's a really big selling point for them. Let's say in this example, that had come from an A/B test and it performed really well. They put a video on their website showing the same person wearing one of their t-shirts versus the same person wearing a random t-shirt from Amazon or whatever, generic t-shirt.
Yeah.
So you can actually see how that fit is different, and you can go, wow, okay, these t-shirts are good.
Yeah. That's
They might get a 10% uplift from that. It's not going to make a massive difference to the website, because it's also, one thing to remember is that 10% uplift on that test is not an uplift on your store's conversion rate. It's an uplift on the conversion rate of the people who saw that test. Right? So if it's on a PDP,
yes,
if you're testing on a PDP, anyone who never made it to a PDP
you're not going to be. Yeah.
It's not in that test. So if you get 50% of your traffic to a PDP, which is probably benchmark, 50% of your traffic has not seen that test and therefore won't have a conversion uplift, right? But anyway, my point was, you would then say this content worked really well on the PDP as a conversion piece. So why don't you go test it in an advert?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if that works really well at drawing people in the first place. And then when they see it again on the PDP, it reinforces that message.
Yeah.
That's the bit which is more likely to have that conversion uplift, because you're probably also driving better quality traffic in the first place.
Yeah. No, really cool. Well, I think like you were trying to say that it's a process, it's a methodology. I think a lot of things that you talk about is something that you should put a strategy in place, measure, improve, and of course, all this comes wrapped around very tightly with all the research and objective, right? So thank you for highlighting that. I wanna ask you two more questions now. One is, I read your post the other day about AI and how it's going to impact conversion optimization and these nice new jazzy apps that you find on Shopify coming out every day, etc. Right? So as a record, in the past 4 weeks, there are on an average 60 to 65 new apps being launched on the Shopify App Store. Right?
I'm going to make a note of that.
60. Yeah. So this week, in fact, like Monday, I got an email. It was 60, but before that it was 70, 74, 72, etc. So, right?
Each week, did you say?
Each week.
Each week.
And well, now the App Store has about more than 9,000 apps.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of number. A lot of them talk about AI as well, which is still mystical in my opinion. When I look at it from theirs, I can't talk about it, but because we do use AI, so again, but it's not about us. So, but how do you think AI is going to impact e-commerce and CRO if used in the right sense? And do you even think it's possible to use that to improve the results and performance?
So where to start with this? First thing I would say is, out of all these apps, new apps that are launching and claim to have AI and stuff, I'd be very, very confident in saying 99% of them don't.
Okay.
And are probably using a bit of machine learning, which is a lot easier.
Yeah, sure.
It's not AI. People are just misleading, right?
Yeah,
People deliberately.
And guys, just to tell you again how confident Will is and why you should listen to this is because very few people I know can actually make a difference between what is AI and what's machine learning. So, Will, thank you. Please go on.
Um, but I think there's definitely room for it. I've not had too much experience of it using it on websites and on the actual customer experience.
Yeah.
My experience of using AI is for um, like transcriptions, interview transcriptions, um, analyzing reviews, customer service emails, and things like that. Feeding it a lot of data and then saying, just tell me what the top positive, top negatives are. Give me some summaries.
Yeah.
One thing that we'll always do as well is let's say we feed it 20 reviews. I'll do more than that. That's such a bad example. Let's say we feed it 200 reviews, because that would be the point in using AI.
Yeah.
We'll get it to summarize. And when it says like negative stuff, let's say we're talking about t-shirts again. Negative comment might be something to do with the fit, right? Negative reviews saying or negative comments about the fit of the t-shirt. What we'll do is we'll ask it to pick out and show us 5 reviews that have a negative talk about the fit negatively, and we just use this to sense check it. Because I don't fully trust that it will get the context of what people are saying correctly. So I need to double check that, because if someone writes a bit of maybe a humorous review about it and gives it 5-star, but there's a risk that the AI pulls it out as a negative review just because of the way it's written.
Fair.
But when you read the full review, you say, "Oh, okay, they don't actually mean it negatively."
True.
Or it might be a comment about other t-shirts, because they've commented saying other t-shirts never fit well.
Yeah.
I always have problems buying t-shirts.
Yeah.
There's a risk that it pulls that out, right? So we always get it to do a bit of a check. So that's where our experience of AI is. I think there's probably some good opportunities. I mean, I've not seen much proper AI in use on Shopify stores so far. The vast majority of it is machine learning, right? And if you can think to yourself, like, what's the maths that's going into this, then it's probably machine learning. So stuff like being able to tell when a product is likely to go out of stock based on velocity of sales.
Fair.
Right? AI's, you don't need AI to tell you that.
Yeah.
You can write a little algorithm just to work that out.
Yeah.
But there'll be people claiming that they have an AI solution to tell you the exact moment you should be ordering a restock, to create efficiencies and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess I'll leave it there. Nothing against AI, but I just, at the moment, I've not seen much actual AI in use on the customer side. But I think it's really valuable for teams. Like, you can use ChatGPT internally and just get it to analyze loads of stuff. Get it analyze reviews and things. I use it to actually, I've never had it write any content for me.
Okay.
But what I have used it for is some more personal stuff, where I've asked it to write something for me so that I can use that as the starting point for something that I want to write. Okay. So I would never get it. So, example might be, I might use it, or you could use it to help you write a LinkedIn post, or an email or something.
Yeah.
But I think you still need to go in and you've got to go in and like tweak it yourself.
Sure.
Right. It shouldn't be the finished article. It should just help you
get there.
If you're not a copywriter, I know copywriters will hate me for saying this, but you could write a damn good email using AI.
Yeah.
But you just need to go in and put your own little twist on it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, so Will, I have to say I'm sorry, because till the 44th minute of our podcast was going very well, but as soon as you said that you've not seen apps doing well in AI, that's where I lose you, because we do AI and we do a damn good job at that.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said I've not seen any stores.
No, I'm just kidding.
Using it on the experience. I'm sure Um,
No,
well,
no,
send me an example of who's using it, and I'll take a look.
sure, we are.
Um,
And again, it's about intent, and what you beautifully put in, that
yeah,
those guys are not ready. So what we try to do is, again, understand based on their live events and clicks, etc., where they are in their customer journey, and then we have a nudge or a pop-up, go and talk to them accordingly, so that we try to push them in their journey there, rather than
yeah,
just throwing in a 20% off for an email where I'm coming as a low intent, where I don't even know what you do. Why would I give you my email address today just for whatever,
yeah.
right? So yeah, but again, it's AI, and the most important part about AI is it's not a magic wand. It takes its time. It needs the data. It needs the sample
It's got to
size,
learn, right?
which a lot of
Yeah,
people don't understand. So yeah, getting there, lots of learning and lots of model training and continuous learning part also involved, which is again very
yeah,
important from that side. So my last question, Will, is a little bit of fun part for me, especially because I put people on the spot, and there you go. So you have to tell us something that you've never told anybody else. So it has to be a fun fact or something about you which you
if
don't
it's a,
talk about too often.
I mean, to be fair, if it's a fun fact, I probably have told other people. um, I mean, there's not a lot I'd hold back.
Has to be
I
some.
don't. I don't think. All right, it's not something I've never mentioned before, but I don't think I've mentioned it on a podcast or anything before.
Okay, there you go.
Um, it's not actually a particularly fun fact when I think about it. I have two metal plates in my cheek because I broke my cheek playing rugby when I was at school.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you
Uh,
can't tell.
you can't tell, yeah,
Um,
which is good. Yeah.
yeah, it's very good. But yeah, so I've got a plate kind of around my kind of eyebrow, and then one that's like underneath the cheekbone,
Oh wow.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
which is really really interesting when I have the old X-ray and stuff, and I've completely forgotten to tell them that I have these these plates in my cheek because they kind of flash up on an X-ray
So
if they're not
it's
prepared
like
for it.
never travel with you and go to the airport queues along with you, Will. Is that how it is, or?
It's never really been a problem. I think it did go off in the US a couple of times
Okay.
back, uh, early 2000s.
Okay. Okay.
Well, like shortly after it happened, but no, it's never really a problem. Honestly, I forget about it. Never. Literally, the last couple of times it's come up has been, I think I had an X-ray when I was having wisdom teeth taken out,
Yeah.
and another when I like changed dentist because they like to do an X-ray, and both of those times they were like, have you got any piercings or anything you didn't tell us about? I'm like, no. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
know what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, two plates on
No,
my
but
cheek.
thank you for sharing that with us, because this was really fun fact from the perspective that if you would have never said it, we would have never known. So that's really cool as well. But for everybody watching, guys, if you're in e-commerce, and if you're in a D2C brand looking to go and enter into the uncharted territories of CRO, reach out to Well. They're a really cool agency. They do a lot of good work. They work with a lot of brands. I've known him for a while, and the way he puts across this point, explainers, does the research, I think is really mind blowing, and I don't know a lot of people doing that. So please go talk to him. And again, Will, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot of cool things that I'm going to try and incorporate in my A/B testing CRO approaches as well.
Yeah,
And it was really helpful to put a lot of things in perspective from where you're coming. So I appreciate your time.
no problem. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you, Will, and look forward to doing this again with you sometime soon.
Yeah, me too. Cheers.
Cheers.